Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. Let's start with topic 4 on selection control structures part 1. In this part, we are going to look into creating condition, relational operators, logical operators, the order of precedence, logical expressions, and also the if statements. The objectives of this topic are to have the knowledge of if statements, if-else, multiple and nested if-else, and also using switch statements. As part of the condition in if-else and switch, we will be learning about Boolean expressions using relational and logical operators. By the end of this topic, students are expected to know and able to write codes using if-else, switch, and also using the Boolean expressions. All programming languages have statements that allow you to make decisions to determine what to do next. A computer can process a program in one of three ways. The first one is in sequence, which follows the statements in order. The second one is branching or selection, that alters the flow of the program execution by making a selection or choice which depend on certain conditions. And third one is looping or iteration, or you can also call it as repetition, where it alters the flow of the program execution by repeating particular statements in certain number of times depending on certain condition. We will learn about looping in topic 5. The order in which statements are executed in a running program is called the flow of control. These figures are called as flowcharts. Normally, before a programmer writes a code, they will draw a flowchart or write a draft of the program using pseudocode. These figures here show the difference of sequence, selection, and also repetition. We will look at each of these. So far, what we have done with our code is having statements in sequence. The statements are executed in order. For example, we have statement 1, statement 2, and so on. Let's look at a simple code to make sense of this. Say that we have a class called example. Using what we have learned in the previous topic, we declared a variable called number that is of type int. Then, we create a scanner object called input. To enable user to type from the keyboard, we use system.in. So we write scanner input equal to new scanner system.in. And to use the scanner class, we need to import java.util package. So we have input java.util.scanner in the first line. Then, it will display on the screen using print method, enter a number. It expects the user to enter an integer number as we use nextIn method, and the value is kept in the variable number. Next, we print out the value that the user has entered by displaying the sentence, "You have entered," and the number. Based on the explanation about the code, we can see that there's a sequence of what is being executed first. We can see that when we run the code, the first print statement is displayed before the second print line statement. It happens in the exact sequence that the code is written. So, this is what it meant by sequence. In this topic, we will look at branching or selection. Here, depending on the choice or condition, different statements will be executed. For example, using similar code as in sequence, the program will ask the user to enter a number, then display the number again. Let's take another step forward where we will check if the number that the user entered is an odd or even number. The next slide is the rest of the code to replace the part highlighted in yellow here. When we are doing the checking, that is a Boolean expression which will give the result as true or false. For example, I have added this code where I wrote if number modulus 2 equal to 0. At this point, any number that has the remainder of 0 is an even number. We have looked at examples of using the modulus sign to find even or odd in topic 3. So basically, at this line, we are saying that if the number that the user entered has the remainder of 0, that means that this condition is true. It will do system.out.println, print the number, and the sentence is an even number. If this condition is false, meaning that number modulus 2 gives the value of 1. It will print the number and the sentence is an odd number. Try and run the full code. See that we enter the value 4. It will display you have entered 4 and 4 is an even number. We will learn how to write these if-else statements and the conditions or expressions in this topic. Different than selection, in looping, iteration or repetition, the program or part of the statements within the code might be repeated depending on the condition. In selection, it does not repeat the same statement within the selection structure, but instead, it decides which statement to run and then will proceed to the next statement. In looping, we are going to learn while loop, do while loop, and also for loop. An example of the code, here we have while number not equal to -1, meaning that if the user enters the value -1, the program will end. If the user enters other numbers than -1, it will repeatedly ask the user to enter a number and display the number entered. For this code, the example output could be it asks the user enter a number. When the user entered 4, it will display you have entered 4. Then it will ask again enter a number. The user entered 6, it will display you have entered 6. It will ask again enter a number. The user entered -1 and it displays the value and ends the program because the condition within the while has now become false because number is equal to -1. Don't worry too much about this yet. We will learn all of this slowly. Relational operator. To make decisions, you must be able to express conditions and make comparisons. Relational operator allows you to make comparisons in a program. It uses the binary operator. Condition is represented by logical or Boolean expression in Java, where logical expression is an expression that has a value of either true or false. This table here lists out the operators that we could use. Let's look at each of these one by one. The first one is double equal symbols, that means equal to. It can compare numbers or expressions. See that we have int number equal to 5, system.out.println number equal to 5. What do you think the output will be? When we write number equal to 5, we are writing a logical expression. Logical expression has a value either true or false. It will display true because we are comparing the value 5 with 5. Next, we have exclamation mark and equal, which means not equal to. Similar code as before, we would write number not equal to 5. It will display false because number is equal to 5. We also have less than or equal to. If we do number less than or equal to 5, it will display true because it has two options. Either the number is smaller than the number that it is being compared to or has exactly the same value. In this example, variable number has the value of 5, which is exactly the same as the compared number. That's why the result is true. Similarly, for larger than or equal to, it will give the value true because number is not larger than 5, but number is equal to 5. For less than and greater than operator, when we do number larger than 5 or number less than 5, both of these will give the output of false because number, which is 5, is not larger than 5 and it is also not less than 5. You can use any of these operators in your program depending on which you prefer to have and use. There is no correct operator to be used as long as it gives you the expression value, result or output that you expect it to have. Now, let's look at logical operators. These are operators that enable you to combine logical expressions. The operators take only logical values as operands, and similarly, they produce Boolean results. We have exclamation mark to mean not, double N means and or. We will now look at each of these operators. The NOT operator. A logical expression can be described by a truth table that lists all possible combinations of values for the variables involved in the expression. By using NOT, it reverses the value of logical expression. So if it is true, using NOT it will become false. Same if it's false, using NOT it will become true. Let's look at how we can use it when writing a code. Say that we declare and initialize a variable called x that is of type boolean. Boolean has the value either true or false. Here we initialize it to true. When we do system.out.println not x, we reverse the value of our true to become false. So the output is false even though we define our variable x as true. AND operator is comparing two expressions and has these properties. If both expressions are true, it will result in true. If only one of it is true, the result is false. And if both expressions are false, it will become false. So how can we use the operator in our code? A very simple example is by comparing two expressions of numbers. We wrote system.out.println and within it we have two expressions that use the relational operators. The first one is 3 larger than 1 and the second one is 3 equal to 0. So 3 larger than 1 will give us the value true. 3 equal to 0 is false. Using the AND operator, we are basically comparing true and false, which will give us false. When we run this code, false will be displayed as the output. You can try and use other values to check does it display true if both of your expressions contain true, or what happens when both are false. Let's look at the OR operator. In AND, both has to be the same so that the result will be the same, either both true or both false. In OR operator, if at least one of the expression is true, the output is true. Otherwise, it is false. We will use similar example as before, but this time we use the OR operator. Say that we have 3 larger than 1, which is true, and also we have 3 equal to 0, which will give us false. So now we compare true or false, it will result in the value true. Going back to the precedence over the operators, highest in the list are not positive and negative operators. Relational operators have lower priority than arithmetic operators, followed by equal to and not equal, and then AND, OR, and lastly equal or the assignment operator. Even from the examples that we have seen previously, we did the relational operators first before AND and OR operators. To show the precedence order, let's look at this example. Say that we have -5 plus 10 larger than or equal to 0 and 7 modulus 2 equal to 1. Which will be evaluated first? It will do -5 plus 10 because that is at the most left side. Then it will do larger than or equal to 0, which will give it the value true. AND operator has the lower priority, so we will skip that first and do 7 modulus 2, where 7 modulus 2 gives us the remainder of 1. We compare 1 with 1, so at that part it has the value true. Now only we can do the comparison of true and true, which will give us the result of true. Then we give the value true to the variable called x, because the equal sign, which is the assignment operator, has the lowest precedence. To summarize, in the first part we have looked at equality operators, where we have looked at equal to, not equal, larger than or equal to, less than or equal to, less than, and also larger than. We have also looked at the 3 logical operators, which are not, AND, and OR, and also the precedence order.